He's been called a musical messiah, and a public menace, a fashion icon, and a walking controversy, a billionaire, and a breakdown waiting to happen. But what if everything we thought about Kanye West was too simple? What if behind the chaos, the noise, the drama, there's a kind of genius we're not used to seeing? Let's go back to where it started. Before the Grammys, before the paparazzi, before the fame, Chicago, late 90s. Kanye Omari West was just a kid with a computer, a crate of soul records, and a sound in his head that no one else could hear. He wasn't rapping, he was producing, quietly, for local artists, then bigger names. And then came Jay-Z. In 2001, the blueprint dropped like a bomb, a hip-hop classic. And behind the lush, soulful, chopped-up beats that defined the album was Kanye. He wasn't famous, he wasn't even taken seriously yet, but he was already changing the sound of a culture. Most people would have stayed in their lane, but Kanye never had one. He wanted to rap. Everyone said he didn't have the look, didn't have the voice, didn't have the story, so he told his own. The College Dropout was a bombshell. Funny, honest, insecure, spiritual, all wrapped in tight bars and samples that made you feel something. And the world listened. This wasn't gangster rap. This was heart. Real-life college debt, faith, dreams, and rejection, all in a single album. It won him Grammys. But more than that, it won him space. Space to be different. And that's where things started to get interesting. Because while Kanye was redefining music, something else was bubbling under the surface. Unfiltered thoughts, sharp opinions, and a total refusal to play the game. Then, the moment, 2009 MTV VMAs, Taylor Swift. You know what? I'm gonna let you finish, but you already know what happened next. Suddenly, Kanye wasn't just an artist. He was a headline. Some called him arrogant. Some called him a villain. But almost no one asked why he did it. Because here's the thing, Kanye's always believed that art deserves truth, and truth in his world rarely comes out pretty. From that point on, he wasn't just making music, he was making statements. Albums like 808s and Heartbreak turned grief into sound. He lost his mother. And instead of hiding, he turned the pain into a cold, auto-tuned masterpiece that would later inspire artists like Drake, The Weeknd, and Kid Cudi. Then came My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, considered by many to be one of the greatest albums ever made. Big, bold, theatrical, fragile, explosive. It wasn't an album, it was therapy, broadcast in HD. But again, controversy followed him. His interviews, unhinged, his tweets, wild, his behavior, erratic. Or was it something deeper? Because as much as Kanye's art evolved, so did the conversation around him. Bipolar disorder, public breakdowns, presidential campaigns, support for Trump, statements that turned entire fan bases against him. He burned bridges, lost deals, made enemies, and still never stopped creating. Fashion didn't want him. He pushed harder, and Yeezy was born. Minimal, futuristic, offbeat. Suddenly, everyone was wearing earth tones, chunky sneakers, and dystopian hoodies. He went from laughingstock to fashion innovator, with a brand worth over $1 billion. But at what cost? Because with every win came another spiral. 2022, anti-Semitic remarks, partnerships collapsed, Adidas walked away. His billionaire status? Gone overnight. The media called it the end, but Kanye? He's never operated by the rules. He disappears, then reappears. Sometimes with a new album, sometimes with silence. And all along, one question keeps echoing. Is this brilliance or breakdown? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Genius often walks with madness. Van Gogh, Tesla, Nina Simone, visionaries who saw what others couldn't, and paid for it in pain. Kanye doesn't fit, he explodes, he breaks, he rebuilds. He's vulnerable on one track, vicious on the next, messiah complex today, self-doubt tomorrow. It's chaos, but it's real, and maybe that's the point. Because while the world mocks him, cancels him, debates him, Kanye is still pushing culture forward, still breaking molds, still refusing to be anything but himself. He's not a role model, not always a hero, but he is a mirror. A mirror for a society obsessed with perfection but addicted to controversy. A society that wants raw truth until it gets too raw. So, is Kanye West a misunderstood genius or just a chaotic mind unraveling in public? Maybe he's both. Maybe that's what genius looks like when the whole world is watching.